Welcome back to another episode of A Plateful of Inside on Revive podcast. Today we are talking about some really, I want to say trending topics, but today we are talking about menopause. That is something that we are hearing lots of. There's a lot of myths and facts going around during this. And today we are going to be busting some of those and really speaking to what is true and what is not. So if you're joining us for the first time, welcome. We are so excited to have you. If you have tuned into some of our episodes, thank you so much for coming back. Today we are going to be going through all the myths and facts, and we hope you're going to find something interesting. We can kind of speculate. If you're joining us today, you might have questions on menopause or know somebody who is going through that phase, perimenopause, menopause. So we are looking forward to discussing that. Today, I am joined by two amazing women on our team who both very much practice in the area of women's health. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So I have Marina, who is one of our dietitians, who covers all areas of women's health, which is really cool, Marina, because you cover everything from fertility for pregnancy to postpartum, all the way to perimenopause and menopause. So that whole spectrum. And then we have Shara. And Shara, I'm super pumped to have you because we know that, especially around the topic of perimenopause and menopause, that there has been a burst of myths around menopause for women and fitness and what we should do. And Shara is one of our fitness leads as well as a certified personal trainer. So we are going to be pulling lots of knowledge for both of these ladies today. I will turn it over to both of you to say hello.
Hi, and thank you so much for having me and for starting this amazing conversation because it's so important to talk about. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Like Andrea said, I've been in fitness for a while, 20 years in the industry, and now with my own journey of perimenopause and menopause that I've been going through for the past 5 years, this has become a really important topic for me, especially as it relates to fitness. And I'm excited to share what I know and what I've learned.
That is awesome. And I think that's Shara kind of why people are starting to learn about it more, right? Is we're starting to go through these phases and if you're joining us, you might be in a different phase. So we're going to kind of try to speak to the myths that will be supportive no matter where you are in this kind of journey. But let's get into this. And today I kind of wanted to bust these myths that kind of fit all pillars. So I know we could just always go down nutrition and we could always go down fitness, but I kind of wanted to bring it together so we're able to speak to kind of that whole health concept for women who are going through this. So to kind of get us started, there's even just lots of myths of, oh, you're just in perimenopause and menopause. Like, let's just deal with it, right? Like, it's very, well, like, sorry for you, like, bye, like there's nothing we can do. I think there's that kind of stigma around it. We maybe don't talk about it, or it's just, oh, that's what it is, deal with it. So one of the first pain points I think that's a myth around is sleep. Oh, too bad for you, you're not sleeping very well, that's just menopause, kind of get used to it. So yeah, what would you both say to that myth? I know I've heard it with my own clients. Yeah. What do you say to that one?
Well, I hear that almost every single client that I have that is going through perimenopause or menopause is struggling with sleep. So this is definitely a really big issue. And it's not something that you just have to accept. There are hormonal shifts, and especially during menopause or perimenopause, when there are so many fluctuations in hormones, especially estrogen, progesterone, that can impact your ability to fall asleep or even to stay asleep. But there are some things that you can do to improve your quality of sleep during menopause. Number one is to keep your bedroom cool and dark. So hot flashes, night sweats can definitely disrupt our sleep, but keeping a fan next to you, using light bedding, moisture wicking pajamas like cotton or some linen or something like that that's a little bit lighter can help. And then sticking to a regular sleep and wake schedule. So, our circadian rhythm, that's our sleep schedule that tells us when we wake up and when we fall asleep, is affected by, irregularities. And so, when we stay up later than we should, or when we try to sleep in, that affects our ability to actually stay asleep when we're supposed to. We also want to limit caffeine, alcohol, create relaxation before bed, and then make sure that we're eating well and exercising to get to balance our eating and make sure that we get through the day properly.
Those are some great tips, Marina, for sure. I always forget about the pajama one. Like, that's a big one. Like, make sure you're comfortable with your pajamas, right? You don't want to be wearing hot things if already hot. I'm curious, Shara, then for you, like, how does activity play into this, or myths that you might be hearing or experiencing?
Absolutely. Just on the pajama thing, bamboo. Bamboo is very breathable. That's another one that I've come across my own self. But in terms of exercise and physical activity to help with sleep, absolutely. There's tons of research out there that says that it can improve sleep. So moving your body, but making sure that you're not doing it too close to bedtime, because that can actually disrupt your sleep as well. But making sure that you're moving your body throughout the day can help improve sleep patterns for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, let's go into this next kind of pillar of health. We think about, kind of our mental well-being, which we've talked lots on our podcast of the importance of it, kind of where it shows up, how it shows up. But we also know with perimenopause or menopause that it can come with mood swings, irritability, even just stress of just like a different life cycle too. So is this just something that we are supposed to accept and live with? Like, how do we bust that one?
Yeah, so mood swings definitely happen because of the shift in hormones. Again, it's kind of like a roller coaster. One day you're super excited, you're happy, and then the next day you might feel weepy or tired or angry even. Um, and that definitely affects our relationships. It affects our work. It affects our ability to just do daily life things. Um, but the good news is that just because our hormones are shifting, it doesn't mean that we're powerless. So, yes, the emotional changes are real, but they're not untreatable or something that you just have to ride out. There are some things that you can do to help with those roller coaster emotions. Um, so the first thing that we want to do is make sure that we're not skipping meals, and that's a big one. A lot of women experience weight gain during menopause, so they feel like they need to skip meals or reduce their calorie intake, but that can actually affect our blood sugar balance and it can affect our mood. So we want to make sure that we're having regular meals with protein, healthy fats, and lots of fiber to keep our mood steady and stable. And as Shara said, move your body, even like 5-10 minute walk or some stretches during the day or, jumping jacks, any little thing during the day will help because it helps to boost mood regulating hormones that keep you happy and healthy and reduces anxiety. We also want to prioritize self care. So, doing something that you love. And I know at this stage in your life, you might be taking care of elderly parents, you might still be taking care of your children, dealing with teenagers, dealing with, work stress, dealing with so many different things that come at us in that stage of life. But it is so important to practice self care and do something for you that you absolutely love every single day. That makes a huge difference to our mood, our sleep, our ability to cope with stress, just absolutely everything. And as we talked about before, getting enough sleep, because sleep and mood are so closely connected. So making sure that we prioritize that sleep and that sleep schedule, and then getting help when we need it. Oftentimes, as women, we find it really hard to ask for help, but it's actually really helpful to just reach out to one another, support one another, and if you're absolutely struggling, go see your healthcare provider right away. Don't wait on it.
Yeah, I will say this, like, I am a better person after I move my body. I'm a happier person. I'm more balanced, and I understand that in this stage of life, our moods are swinging from one extreme to the next. And myself personally, I've gone through it. Some days I'm full of rage, and then some days I cry, and then so. But I do know that the one thing that is constant that does help is in managing all of this and these mood swings is moving my body, because I instantly feel better after I do it. And it doesn't have to be grandiose. It doesn't mean going to the gym for an hour. It means sometimes I just stop everything and I go for a quick 10-minute walk, because I immediately feel better. Like those endorphins that come after moving your body just immediately make you feel better. And I can't stress that enough when it comes to managing the stress, and obviously the stress of what's happening with your body and your mind at the time, right? It's just one more thing to deal with in life. So just getting out and moving is absolutely a game changer. There, you're going to notice a theme in a lot of the things that we're talking about, that exercise and physical activity ties into almost everything, and it is the one common thread. I mean, they all go together. So again, we will be talking more about how moving your body and exercise can help get through these changes in life.
Shara, you hit on a really good point, and I think that is a lot of these myths. We don't realize how connected they are and how one can actually have a domino effect on the other. We just always seem to be tunnel visioned on one thing. And I think with emotions, if we think about other phases as well, is being okay with also having the mood swings and the different emotions. Like if we think around the stigma of, oh, like you can't be like that, like, you're supposed to be happy all the time. And that's not what we're saying either. Is, we are going to have those, and it's okay, and lean into them as well. And then kind of reaching out when you need to. um
Uh, and
yeah.
absolutely, I want to add to that we're having conversations about this now more than ever, and I think that's a very, very important thing to point out. So there are more than likely people around you going through the same things that you're dealing with. So having that social connection and reaching out to someone to even just to vent to about what you're dealing with, to have that support is really, really important. I think that just even the fact that we're having a talk about menopause, when 10 years ago this probably wasn't happening. Well, I know it wasn't happening, because now it's coming to the forefront and women's health is being talked to more. So yes, they're, like you said, they're all very much intertwined and relate to each other. And we're not asking you to be perfect. We're just asking you to consider all the different little elements that go together, and to think about how you can change how you feel in that moment.
Yeah. um One of the myths is around connection. So we're going to hold that one, because that one's going to come up as, actually, it is one of our pillars of health, just on its own. So yeah, we're going to do that one as well. Let's go into this one. And I know, especially from my clientele, this is kind of what we hear and see a lot, especially practicing in obesity, weight management. As a society, we are concerned about weight. That seems to be what, we're told, which, we should be worrying about it and should look like this. And menopause is another time where it starts to show up differently for women for different reasons. And then one of the things that we can't seem to get away from is, oh, we just need to eat less, kind of move more. And that's how also we're going to get through menopause. So this advice is harmful, but it's also a myth, and we need to work that one out. So how both can, explain that one.
Yeah, this is one that I definitely hear a lot, and it's not about eating less. It's we need to accept that our metabolism is slowing down. We need to accept that our body composition is changing, that things are shifting within ourselves, and love ourselves just the way that we are. That being said, we do want to still make sure that we're eating well to support our body and to support our health and prevent chronic disease. That should be the goal, and instead of losing weight, because if the goal is just weight loss, we end up becoming very frustrated with ourselves. And I've seen this so many times where your body doesn't do what you want it to do in that moment, and you can be doing everything right and still not seeing the results that you want. So, you know, cutting calories can backfire, and that's something that's really important to share. It can lead to muscle loss. You can feel fatigued, have lots of headaches, increased cravings, and it also slows down your metabolism. So you actually end up gaining more weight. Instead, what we want to do is make sure that at every meal we're including lots of protein. So we want to make sure that we're eating at least a quarter of our plate protein, things like Greek yogurt or lentils, fish, chicken breast, eggs. All of those things are really good. We also want to make sure that we're not avoiding all fats. We want to still include those healthier fats and omega 3s, so things like avocados, olive oil, nuts, and seeds, because those support hormone health. And then make sure that we're eating lots of fruits and veggies on our plate. Those colorful veggies, especially, give us a lot of antioxidants. And it gives us a lot of vitamins and minerals that keeps our body running smoothly. We want to make sure that we're reducing the sugar that we have in our day. That being said, we don't want to avoid treats altogether. That's part of our balanced eating, but we do want to make sure that we're being mindful of it. And then just being consistent. So changes are not going to happen overnight. There, it takes consistency and mindfulness to make those changes happen.
Oh, Marina, I'm going to get you to repeat one of those things that you said, because I think we need to hone in on this of we are working against biology, right? Like, so that is happening to whether we like it or not. There are things in the background that we aren't able to change despite maybe what we see online, or we're being told, "Oh, do this and it'll change this." And it sounds like what you're talking about is we're adding value to what we can do for our health, right? Of not focusing on the one, but focusing on kind of what we can do. But you did mention about, so losing weight will cause you to gain more. Can you go back to that one? Because I know
Uh,
we hear that
yeah,
one all the
so
time.
it's really funny how the body works. What ends up happening is that when we restrict so intensely, then our metabolism slows down because your body thinks it's in starvation mode, and it doesn't know when the next meal is coming or if there's going to be enough. So it slows down and your body starts to store everything. So instead of using up some of those extra fats or extra calories, you're actually storing them. And that can lead to a lot of weight gain and increased cravings, especially the cravings for high fat, high sugar foods, which is not what we want at all.
The exact opposite of what we hear, right? Oh, just lose weight and then everything will be fixed. But it has kind of the opposite effect, for women for sure, and for men as well. But it definitely can. Maybe Shara, you chime in here, because this kind of think about the weight loss piece that also translates then into the fitness, right? Like, I'm only going to the gym so I can just lose weight. And if maybe one of the myths is, what should we be focusing on, the weight loss or the muscle gain? Because that's these two conflicting myths that seem to be out there. Which route to go?
Yeah, the immediately when our bodies start to change, we immediately want to go into some type of fix mode, like like fix it by cutting our calories or increasing our activity or going to exercise just solely for the purpose of burning fat or weight loss. And it's really hard to make that switch from thinking about improving health outcomes and preventing chronic disease. That is very much a risk when our hormones change as we get older and the estrogen decreases, and it puts us at higher risk for cardiovascular disease, osteoporosis, all the things we don't think about when we're younger, when we're exercising and moving. And oftentimes we use exercise for because we simply want to look better, and there's no shame in that. But you have to understand that exercise is not a tool for fat loss. It's actually, that's a myth that, you're in a fat burning zone. Exercise burns energy and calories. It doesn't technically burn fat. What burns fat, or what if that's what you want to do, is geared towards nutrition and balanced nutrition, like Marina had mentioned. Exercise often with women in this stage of life is used as almost a tool of punishment, that you need to go hard or go home. High intensity interval training, thinking about everything. If you're not sweating and dying, then you're not doing much for your body. But when in fact, well, cardio is really good for you. And I think I'm going to go into your next myth here, but that cardio is all you need after 40. Well, no, you do need cardiovascular work because it's really important to decrease the risk of heart disease, and it's also good for your heart and lungs to keep that, good. But you need it in conjunction with resistance training, because you need to ensure that you maintain your muscle mass as we age. And we need to build muscle mass, because muscle mass is so very important for all things. I like to call muscle mass the fountain of youth. So if you want to think about, increasing your lifespan, your health span, think about building muscle, because muscle helps with metabolic health. Very important for bone health, decreasing the risk of osteoporosis, right? Muscle is a sponge for glucose, so improves insulin sensitivity. And then, of course, exercise like resistance training and cardio together, really important for mood and brain health. The BDNF, that protein that helps us with memory and learning, very, very important, especially in this span of life where our brain, because of the change in hormones, we are getting brain fog and changes in the mood. And so exercise, and both cardiovascular work and resistance training, are really important in helping those functions. So move because it helps your outcomes. Well, it's okay to want to move and exercise to look better. Do it first for feeling better, and then the rest will follow. Because I've said this many years to many of the female clients I've had, is once you start feeling better, you see someone different in the mirror. And when we're going through these changes in life, oftentimes we just need to feel better, because our outlook on life and our mood, decreasing the risk of depression, it all changes from simply moving your body. So if you're looking into resistance training, it doesn't have to be grandiose. The research says twice a week, whole body resistance training, 30 minutes is all you need to see significant progress. That's it. 2 30-minute muscle strengthening sessions a week. You do not have to be in the gym like a bodybuilder training bis and tris, chest and back, and splitting it up like that. You can do a whole body 30 minutes twice a week, and then add your cardio component to that. Think about 150 minutes a week. That's 5 30-minute sessions of moderate activity. So you're able to carry on a conversation. You're getting your heart rate up. That has significant benefit for those health markers, and specifically for perimenopause and menopause. And then outside of that, I would add one more thing. It's called NEAT, which is the non-exercise activity thermogenesis, which is basically what you do throughout the day, moving your body, anything you're doing not in a seated position. Parking farther away from the grocery store, doing some gardening, doing some house chores, cleaning, trying to get your body just moving away from that sedentary position. Because and I say this to a lot of the clients that deal with chronic health condition, motion is lotion. So we will feel better when our bodies are moving. And while I understand that there will be days in perimenopause and menopause where you just do not feel like doing any of it, I always say just show up for 10 minutes. That's it. For yourself for 10 minutes and set a timer for 10 minutes and move. And I've mentioned this in previous things that I've spoke on, movement snacks. Could you do 10-minute movement snacks throughout the day to help boost your activity, to help boost your brain? So, going for a quick walk around the block, or if you're working in an office building, go hit those stairs for 10 minutes and show up messy, show up angry, show up sad, show up mad. Doesn't matter. Just show up for yourself. It's easier said than done, I know, on those days when those mood swings hit. There's been days for myself where I have been on a low, but I just begrudgingly just put my running shoes on and went outside for 10 minutes, and it helped incredibly. So, exercise, whether it's resistance training or cardio, so very important in this stage of life.
And those 10 minutes can be part of your self-care time, right? And Shara, also, I just wanted to add, you mentioned something about strength being important for metabolic health. We just talked about how metabolism slows down when we restrict our caloric intake. But on the flip side of that, when we do our strength exercises, it improves our metabolism so that we end up losing that body fat a lot faster.
Yep. Muscle is more active, and muscle is more important. Like, again, the fountain of youth, it has so many functions in the body, especially for longevity, especially for, another one I would add is independence, right? Quality of life. We want to take away the fragility in later years, especially with decline in hormones. We put ourselves at risk for that fragile living, and we don't want to be fragile women. We want to be strong, independent, and healthy. So those are the physical activity component and the exercise component are so very important. Muscle, lift those weights, lift the weights. And with that being said, it doesn't have to look like going to a gym. It can be, you can set up something at home with dumbbells or resistance bands. As long as it provides some type of resistance and makes your muscles work, then it's very beneficial. There's many ways to do resistance training. It doesn't have to be at a gym. There's options out there.
You both have touched on some awesome pieces in there, and I love movement snacks. Actually, that is a great one. But how to show up for yourself, right? Whether it's 10 minutes in whatever area. And these next two myths kind of go with both of those, because, and I'm going to put this to both of you, because kind of what we're hearing too is like, we need to be doing, what are they? There goes my brain. The vests, Shara, you'll know what I'm talking about. Weighted vests, and you can't be walking because that's not going to do it. And you need to be lifting heavier. And then the nutrition side, we're getting, okay, well, I need to take actually this supplement now, and we need to be doing this. So what do we say to all of a sudden, all of this noise that starts to flood this industry of like, how do we weed through that? Or what can we tell our listeners in that?
I think, listen, always understand who the message is coming from first. Are they trying to sell you something? Are they trying to, a lot of the messages are already preying on people that feel bad about themselves. And we don't want you to feel worse about yourselves. Weighted vests, listen, there's no research out there that says it does anything specific. Does it make your walk harder? Sure. Is it going to get your heart rate up a little bit? Yes. So that's great for cardiovascular work. It's going to have some benefit for you, but can also lead to lower back issues if you're going too heavy with it, right? There's always a risk to it. If you enjoy it, sure. It's not a magic pill. I think that we want to always find these complexities and these magic potions and magic formulas to help or improve our health and help us through this stage of life, when really the basics and the boring stuff is where the magic is. It's not complex. It's not, it's not this secret little formula. And listen, if there was, I would have sold it a long time ago and I'd be in a yacht in the Mediterranean. It's not. I'm sorry. But there it is, just doing the basics every day and building habits and making sure that you show up for yourself to build those habits. Because when those habits form, you build consistency. And with consistency, there's progress. So if you enjoy the weighted vest, sure. But it's not magical. It's not magical. And more than likely, the person that is telling you to do the weighted vest is probably selling a weighted vest. So think about who's giving you the message and why.
Shara, you took the words right out of my mouth. There is no magic pills, not with exercise equipment, not with supplements, not with anything. We need to go back to the basics because that's what works. So even with supplements can be helpful only if you have a deficiency. So that's with, a healthcare provider recommendation. But oftentimes, especially in menopause, we find, take a supplement for hot flashes, take a supplement to help you with sleep, take a supplement to help you with mood swings. There's so many supplements out there, and honestly, most of them don't work. All it does is, keep you spending, and it doesn't work. So we want to focus on quality, not quantity, and make sure that we start with eating well first, exercising first, and then talk to our healthcare provider for actual recommendations to see what will work in terms of supplements and equipment.
I love both that, and mostly because, talking to clients and stuff, it's like, oh, fruits and vegetables are like the least exciting, sexy thing to talk about. Like, if we could make those, glamorous and really exciting, but it comes down to share, right? Like sometimes our basic boring actually are where the strongest evidence remains, and we come back to like, I'd be with you on that yacht, Shara, too.
It's funny because I've been doing this for 20 years. So everyone's like, so what's your secret? I'm like, I'm still squatting. I'm still going for walks. I'm still doing my cardiovascular work. I'm still lifting twice a week. I'm not doing anything like crazy or weird or special or secretive. Like I said, if there was the secret, I would have sold it a long time ago and would have shared it with the world. But the secret is the basics. And yeah, even I've been lifting weights for 30 years and I'm still doing the same exercises. It's the same stuff, but it works because you have to look at it as these little interventions as not hobbies, but healthcare. It's healthcare. And they have outcomes when you apply them and they compound. That's the other thing is like oftentimes like exercise can have that immediate effect in boosting your mood, but it's ultimately what we're looking for down the road. There's a bigger return on investment down the road. It compounds every time you do it. So it's hard sometimes because we want that immediate feel good or the immediate result. I want to eat a vegetable and immediately be healthy. I want to go for a walk and I want to immediately be down 10 pounds. You know what I mean? So those are what we're looking for because that's where we are in society right now is that immediate dopamine hit, the immediate results. But the thing is, perimenopause and menopause happens over such a long span of time, and it can range for years and years. So it's not going to change overnight when you put these habits into play. They compound. It's just like a financial investment. You put your money away and you know that it'll be there in retirement. Well, this is the same thing for your body. You want it to be there down the road so that you are reaping the benefits later.
That is a perfect way of putting it, right? Investing. How do we show up? How do we invest in our health? And I guess my next myth I'm going to go to both of you is because we do know that we are going to get listeners who are very new into this, maybe new into the journey. Maybe they have tried stuff or haven't, and all of a sudden they're going like, is it too late? Like, is it ever too late to start doing these things? Is there a benefit? Or I guess that's the myth to both of you. Is any of this too late?
It's never too late. It's never too late to start. Well, for exercise, especially, it's never too late. There's research that says people that start resistance training in their 40s or 50s can see an increase of muscle mass 2 to 3% after 12 weeks of consistent training. 2 to 3% after 12 weeks. And that's 3 times a week of resistance training, not asking you to spend hours in the gym. So yes, it's never too late. I've seen even a study on 70-year-olds starting to resistance train using resistance bands. And they're reaping the rewards. They're becoming more independent. So no, it's never too late to start. It's never.
Yeah. And it's the same with nutrition. It's never too late to start. And I always tell my clients the perfect time to start is now. Right now. Because if we say, "Oh, I'm going to start next month. I'm going to start eating well or exercising next week," it's never going to happen. Tomorrow doesn't never happens because there's always a tomorrow. The perfect time to start is today. We need to focus on, eating well, exercising, sleeping well, focusing on, all those things that we chatted about, and you can start today. Because the body is always adapting, and even small changes can have big improvements over time. I even worked with someone who was in her 70s, and she told me right away after a couple weeks, she's like, yeah, my sleep has improved, my energy has improved, my mood's improved, all of those things you see right away.
Yeah, it's, if you want to go back to the financial example, that $100 you put away, well, I'll put it away next month. Well, think about if you put it away next month, think of all the things that you could have, all the money you could have gained on the $100 if you would have put it away that day, that interest. That's how you have to think of it. It's just, it will start building now. So start now, because it'll have compound interest down the road.
Sure, you might have just found your next niche into financial investment. But I love it. And I do know when I work with my clients, that's sometimes one of the things is like, let's not even think about the future, like just today. What's one thing, one way we can show up for ourselves today? And then we just take that one step forward. So yeah, I'm also a big believer of today we can do something for sure. Well, our final two pillars around health are, and we kind of touched on this, is around connection. And Sherry, you kind of had spoke about this, right? If we're starting to talk about it a little bit more, which is great. That's moving women's health a lot forward because it's part of the conversation now. And I think just sometimes we need validated, and this is where this myth comes from, is like, should we just be dealing with this quietly? Like, are we, the stigma around it, we'll just deal with it. What would we say to those people?
Well, menopause is such a major life transition, but we're not meant to go through it alone. There's so many others who are going through the same thing, and it helps to have someone to share with, to vent with, to laugh and cry with, and having that community and that circle helps to reduce the severity of those symptoms, because you feel like you're not alone, and you can share tips and tricks. You can share, just showing up for one another. So lean in on your circle, lean in on your friend, your partner, your coworkers, even. Like, that can be incredibly validating and supportive, and help to reduce the severity of those symptoms.
Yeah, and the same goes for like with the exercise. Fun fact: I have had a group of ladies. We would go on what we called rage walks um, together, where we just go and walk and talk about everything that we're dealing with. But it was a connection. It was, we're getting in our exercise and our physical activity, but we're also connecting with each other. And we would rage together or cry together or share, like you said, tips and tricks. Like, that's how I learned about the bamboo stuff. So like, that's really important, is building that community, and then doing and going through it together, because you're not alone. There's so many women out there dealing with it. And I feel that, I feel like the shame and the stigma is starting to come away from it a little bit. There's still a lot of work to be done. I know when my mother went through menopause and I was a teenager, so poor her, because I was a teenager and I was awful, and she was going through menopause and I had no idea. She wouldn't talk about it because it just wasn't talked about back then. But now it's wonderful to see these women shouting from the rooftops what they're going through, and validating each other and saying it's normal and it's not, it's okay. So getting together for those, whether it's a rage walk or getting together to do something else, I think is really important with women in your community.
Yeah. And the other thing I want to add as well is, and I think we touched on that before, is that sometimes we're overwhelmed and overburdened by, people asking us for things or chores that need to get done or taking care of others. But we need to ask for what we need as women. And whether it's, I need a nap, I need some space, like some personal space, I need emotional support, all of those needs are valid, and we need to voice them because people don't know what we need unless we ask. And sometimes there is that hesitation. Oh, I shouldn't ask for that, or I need to push through. You don't need to push through. You just need to ask for what you need.
I love that so much, Marina. I love that so much because I went through a phase in my own journey where I was just not asking. And finally, I was just, you know what? I need you to not breathe around me for 10 minutes. Like, I say that to my spouse. I need you to not. He's like, now my breathing bugs you. I said, I don't know. Maybe today it bugs me, but I'm just telling you what I need right now. Or I need 30 minutes upstairs by myself to decompress. Can you just give me that? I will, sure. And then the amount of support that I got by simply asking, I was just like, really, it's okay. So now my poor spouse, I'm like, I need you not chew around me. And he's like, I will go in the other room and eat that. But the other thing I think to mention about this is the people in our lives, our spouses, explaining to them and educating them as well on what we're going through is so very important because they don't understand it. We barely understand it and are learning as we go. And so we have to explain and say, this is a change that's happening. This is what I need from you. And this is what I need to do. So please help me through this, right? Like having a support system is so very important.
Sherry, you touched on two pieces that definitely, like the education piece. So whoever is around you, right? Even whether it's kids or parent, like elder, like what, just yeah, speak up to kind of what both you had said. The other piece I'm going to add on to here, I feel like it's a given, but it's not. And Marina, you spoke on this of like speaking up, right? Like when we speak up, we're more empowered. We're more empowered. We can get to what we need to do. That's also with healthcare professionals, right? So if something in any of these things we've talked about, don't wait to go and speak to somebody on that, right? I know people are just going to want to try to Google it and figure it out, but there is actually different treatments and things that people can have access to if we speak up and ask and identify that. So I think that's important too, right? We can have big voices, and big voices can be empowered. And then when we feel empowered, we feel more in charge of our health, which is a really cool thing to be in.
We definitely have to advocate for ourselves. Definitely.
Okay, the last myth I had on here, and Marina had kind of touched on it in a few of the things that she had, but this could be just very stereotypical, right? Women, all the things they're going through that we talked about, stress and the eating and this, and at the end of the day, there's that very, oh, we're just gonna, wind down with a glass of wine, because it's our coping mechanism, right? So that's kind of the myth. Is there any sort of facts that we need to discuss about this, or why that also becomes one of our pillars of health is around
Yeah.
alcohol?
Yeah, that's a really big one too. And I mean, it may feel like wine helps us relax, but it's a short-term relaxation. It actually hinders and can disrupt our sleep, especially during menopause. It makes the sleep more fragmented, so we end up having more nighttime wakings. It can worsen hot flashes. And then we don't get into that deep sleep that your body needs to feel restored and refreshed. Alcohol also affects our heart health, which is especially important in menopause. As we know, when our estrogen declines, we're more at risk for heart disease. And so we want to make sure that I'm not going to say eliminate alcohol altogether, but drink mindfully and, limit the amount of drinks that you have, especially at night. Make sure that, try to find other ways to unwind that are not as harmful. So replacing wine with a calming mocktail, for example, or eating balanced eating, especially leafy greens and nuts and seeds, whole grains. Those have magnesium and B vitamins that help us to relax and helps with our mood, our sleep, all of those things. Moving our body helps with both sleep and our heart health. Making sure that we're not having a lot of screen time, or using the nighttime mode on our screens if we absolutely must. All of those things help us to have a more restful sleep and a stronger heart and just feel better throughout the day.
Yeah, I would add to that. So one of the things I noticed was when I was a wine drinker every night, having a glass of wine done wine, full disclosure, only human. I honestly replaced it with a bath. I do a 30-minute decompression bath every night, and it's become very much a part of my routine. Not everybody's a bather, but I just an example of how I replaced one habit with another, because it wasn't serving me anymore. It was disrupting my sleep. It just wasn't doing me well. So it was like, I need to change this. What can I do? I need some type of unwinding at the at nighttime. How can I change that? So for me, it was um, a bath with a murder show. I like to watch true crimes. So whatever works for you, right? But that's what I found. And it's an Epsom salt bath, and it helps me unwind a little bit right before bed and sets me up for a really good sleep. So that's just about finding, switching things out a little bit. Even if you are doing a nighttime glass of wine every night, let's switch it out, alternate nights to start there, right? Like tonight, instead of my glass of wine, I'm going to try this instead. And that's a good way to wean yourself off of it and create new habits.
Yeah, and it's also about finding different ways to cope with that stress. I mean, wine is kind of like a band-aid. It doesn't solve anything. But so the better thing to do, or the more effective thing to do, is to find ways to cope with that stress, whether it's journaling, talking to a friend, taking a bath, like you said, going for a walk, finding those things that help us to actually cope with that stress instead of just putting a band-aid on it.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, the pausing and reflecting, right? We do not do enough of that. And yeah, Shara, to your point, that's a great tool. Is, what is this? What am I doing this for? Why am I doing this? And is this serving me anymore? And I just don't think we do enough of that in practice. We just are on autopilot because there's just too much going on, right? So wherever you're at in your journey, just stopping and pausing. Yeah, how is this showing up? Or is this working towards my long-term investment?
Exactly. Like, you get into the habit of doing the same thing every night. Like, you come home from work, you open the fridge, you pour the glass of wine. Like that is a habit that you sometimes just go into, and it's automatic. So it's just about pausing and saying, is this good for me right now? Or let's change this up. Because before too long, if you change it up, then that becomes a habit. That becomes, you get into it, and it's now a second nature to do that and to pause and reflect and say, do I need this right now? Or can I be doing something different? Yeah, really good.
Well, I feel like we could talk on this topic forever, and I feel like this is not the last time that you're going to see these two and on this episode talking about this, because there's so much we can talk about, I think. But if we had to leave it on kind of a note of what would be one thing you would tell somebody listening today, just to kind of end us off, what's kind of one takeaway?
One takeaway. Well, we talked about so many different strategies, so many different things today, and it can feel overwhelming. So pick one thing that you think you might be able to do confidently. Start with that, and that will help boost your confidence and get you started on the right path, and then you can always add more later. You don't have to do everything all at once.
Maria took mine. Just kidding. Um, be okay. I would say be okay with the fact that this journey is not linear. There's going to be ups and downs, but you have we provided a lot of information today, and like she said, focus on one thing. And we're not asking for perfection. We're asking you to just try, and it's going to be a trial and error of testing these things out to see what works for you to make you feel better. for myself personally, of course, I have an exercise and physical activity bias. So if it's just one thing I want you to take away, it's those movement snacks. How can I move my body for 10 minutes, a couple times a day, just to start there? If exercise is not in your realm right now, if resistance training just doesn't, it feels too daunting for you, focus on trying to move your body more throughout the day. It does have physical and mental health benefits.
Yeah. And we'll actually link a blog that talks about navigating menopause in the podcast description. So if you're wanting to read more or learn more about any of these areas, that will be there for you to take a look at.
Yes, we will definitely include that for sure. Last piece I kind of wanted to put is like, you are worth it, right? We are worth it, and we do not have to do this alone. And we can find, which is the plug as to why we were doing this, we can find really great information to help support you on this journey, and you are worthy of it no matter where you're at. We heard from both of you, we're not too late. Like, today we can do something. So I thank you both for showing up today to have this conversation. This is not done here. I know we will come back again, but one thing we're going to ask for you listening is to leave some comments. What kind of myths are you hearing? What do you think would be valuable for us to talk about? That's why we are here, is to pull from what you need to hear and how we can support you on this. So please leave a comment. Please feel free to share, send this to somebody who you think this would be helpful to. Of course, you can find this recording on all the streaming sites. But we have enjoyed the conversation today, and thank Marina and Shara for joining us, and we hope you have a fabulous day.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.